It's episode 37 of Royally Rumbled. I'm Jordan,
I'm Robert.
and welcome back, guys, because it's been a little bit.
It's been a little while. We took a little sabbatical.
Yeah, we just wanted to kind of reset and recharge, and that's exactly what we did. And here we are, episode 37, the end of 2019. We decided that we wanted to do a Q&A episode. We never got the chance to before, and we figured now's a good enough time as any.
Yeah, you guys sent in some great questions, and we definitely are excited to give you the answers to those and a little bit more, because before we get to your questions, what are we going to talk about, Jordan?
We're going to go over some best of the decade stuff, since, like I said earlier, 2019 is coming to an end. So with it comes the decade. So, Robert, who do you have for your tag team of the decade?
I have the Usos.
Interesting. Good choice. Definitely a solid team. Puts out some incredible matches and programs and different things. I've got the New Day.
That was my second choice. They've been fantastic since they came together with how many titles now? 7 tag titles?
Yeah, it's something like that. 7 or 8.
So how about singles competitors? Who is your wrestler of the decade?
I'm going to go ahead and say Daniel Bryan.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my wrestler of the decade as well.
I was really close to choosing Charlotte Flair, honestly.
She was up there for me, yes.
But I think the past decade that Daniel Bryan has had, not to mention just the last year and a half alone, but yeah.
He's had such a ride. And if you've been a Daniel fan since the beginning, you'll know, like, he's overcome an awful lot, you know?
Yeah.
And you just Yeselmania, the whole Yes movement, the lead up to that, how, like, getting to that point, and then a year after that, winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and then having to stop wrestling, and then coming back, you know, like, just unprecedented amount of accolades for him. And he's just undeniably great in the ring, on the microphone, with his characters. And then you find out that he was instrumental in getting Kofi Kingston that title shot and victory at WrestleMania 35.
35.
Right? That's at WrestleMania 35. So just overwhelmingly so much going for him.
So what do you have for your moment of the decade?
For me, there's specific things that stick out, and I will never forget watching Seth Rollins cash in at WrestleMania 31. It's one of my biggest mark-out moments ever in my entire fandom of wrestling, was Seth Rollins running down the ramp and eventually winning that title, and then running up to the top and spinning it over his head, we usually shit on Michael Cole a lot, but his call of that moment was just the heist of the century, was just, like, awesome. It was such a great moment.
Yeah, definitely memorable. It's just one of those things that all of the pieces fell into place, and it created such a buzz and an explosion. And what a way to end a show, let alone a WrestleMania. Yeah. So cool.
So what's your moment of the decade?
I had to think about this for a little while, but I think hands down I got to go with the Hardy Boys returning at WrestleMania 33.
Yes. Great choice.
We
watched that together, did we not?
We did. And so in that situation, watching that WrestleMania, kind of holding your breath, you see New Day come out, and then that music hits, Loaded, And
we lost it.
oh man,
We lost it.
could not contain my excitement. That's where the WrestleMania peaked for me that night.
Yeah. Unfortunately for that WrestleMania, that was the moment of the night, and it led the show off. So how about match of the decade? Like, what is the best match for you of the decade?
Oh, I gotta go with Neville versus Sami Zayn from NXT Takeover Our Evolution.
Wow.
That match for me checks all the boxes. You had drama, you had incredible storytelling in the ring, and then the build to that match, just like pure insanity. And then just like the way that the show ended with Kevin Owens power bombing Sami Zayn on the apron. Because like that is technically part of that match and that story, like everything built to that, and
Yeah,
I was head first into NXT at that point.
that was a great one. But for me, immediately in my head when I thought of this, I immediately went to John Cena CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. Immediately.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a hesitation. I just that's one match that I will always think of no matter what.
No, definitely. Like I said with the Sami Zayn and Neville match, this match was a lot of the same thing. It had incredible storytelling. It had an incredible build going up into it. Nobody knew, like we talked about surprise factor earlier, but like nobody had any idea what was happening. Even though like we kind of got a very similar storyline in Ring of Honor, legitimately nobody knew if Punk was going to stay with the company or not.
Yeah, I was head over heels in that time frame for Punk and just for everything that was happening in wrestling in general. So, and for that match, I mean, I think I illegally streamed that on the computer to see it because the network wasn't a thing yet. But I don't know that I watched the entire pay-per-view. I don't remember exactly, but I know I watched that match.
I definitely have seen that pay-per-view. I remember I watched it from my pool. We connected a laptop to a projector, and we sat in the pool and watched Money in the Bank 2011, and it was a fantastic show. Like, I remember that show ended, and I was like, I want to buy that on DVD. I never wound up doing it, but...
But now you'll never have to.
But now I'll never have to, exactly.
All right, let's get to some of your guys' questions.
Hell yeah. We asked a couple of days ago to send us your questions, and we got a bunch of responses from Twitter and Instagram. So let's lead off with Twitter.
All right. Good friend of mine. We go back a really long time, actually. My friend Eric asked us, "Do you tip when you get takeout?" So when you order food, you go pick it up, and they hand you the receipt to sign. You writing down a tip?
No, I do not. It's takeout. It's as if I'm going to McDonald's or any other fast food establishment. But if I do like the place, like if I'm at a mom and pop shop or something like that, I will sometimes tip when getting takeout.
On takeout?
On takeout, sometimes.
You're insane. I do not tip on takeout because you've provided me no service of which to tip.
That's true.
I feel like the tip is for the waiter or waitress when you go out to a restaurant, and when I do that, I tip very nicely.
Yeah.
I'm overly generous.
Of course. Like 20% or more.
Yeah, most of the time. But on takeout, when I'm driving to you, no. If you deliver to me, I tip the delivery guy. But if I'm picking it up, I've already paid you for the service that you've provided, which is the food that I'm picking up.
Yeah, but sometimes I'll frequent a place so much and get takeout like once a week. Like I'll throw them a buck or two once in a while. Once in a
Nah,
blue
no.
moon.
Nope. Nope. I'm nice. If I go and sit down at that very place, I will tip. But I am not tipping you if I've driven my car to collect the food myself.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on. Let's go to Josh Robinson, good friend of the podcast. Shout out, Josh.
Of the Wrestling Reverb podcast.
Yeah. So Josh's question to us was, okay, so why is tables match plural, a chairs match plural, a stairs match plural, but why isn't a ladder match plural? Why isn't it a ladders match? I mean, there's multiple ladders in the match. Please discuss. I'll let you kick this one off.
First of all, great question. I love answering. I love thinking about stuff like this.
Dude, this popped us so hard.
I don't know why. Maybe, like, even in like the very first ladder match, I believe there was more than one ladder.
That was incorrect, but go on.
Is that true? It's true that there was just one ladder in the very first one?
In the very first ladder match, one ladder.
I think that's probably why then. That's got to be it, right? Because then it was like there's one ladder.
Yeah.
So it's a ladder match. You have to climb that ladder.
You only need one ladder to complete the match. Where I guess
that's got to be why it's referred to as a ladder match as instead of a ladders match.
But like,
right?
But sometimes you only need one table to finish the tables match,
but generally speaking, in a tables match, more than one table is implemented, whether or not you needed it to finish.
That's true. That's true.
Wherein with the first ladder match, it was just the one ladder. That's the difference, I think. As far as your chairs match is concerned, I hate that that's a match type. Kill it. As far as your stairs match, please never mention that again. Horrible match. They did it one time. It was horrible.
Wait, you mean to tell me that Big Show versus Eric Rowan isn't in your match of the decade here?
Oh my god. It is not. It is not. It is nowhere near it.
Oof. Oof. Big oof.
I couldn't believe. I remember the year that they did that, and I was furious. TLCS is wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, TLCs.
Ugh. That's why they never did it again, because it was stupid. Anyway,
I don't mind the chairs match so much.
It's just a hardcore match.
Yeah,
it's just a no rules match. It's just a DQ match. Just because you say chair doesn't mean anything. I hate that.
Love a ladder match though.
Love a ladder match.
My favorite match type. It's the best match that I've ever competed in when I was a wrestler. Nobody asked about that, but that's fine.
Well, maybe shout out to Josh. From now on, we will refer to them as ladders matches.
But only if there's multiple.
There's always multiple.
What do we got next? What do we got going on next? Which one do we want to answer?
Let's go with Brocast, the Brocast, Tom and Alan.
What's up, guys? Thanks for sending in the question.
We've got, what is your favorite pro wrestling title from any promotion?
So are we... I'm not sure if we're talking the design of the title, or are we talking like...
the actual... I'm assuming this is to mean the actual strap itself.
Total left turn here. The original NWA TNA X Division Championship. I think that one stood out for me. I mean, the giant red X on it and everything. It just...
I had a feeling that was the one you were talking about, because I'm not too familiar, but yeah.
It just looks differently from like any other title, but it still looked like prestigious.
Big gold belt. Doesn't get better. than the big gold belt for me.
See, I was going to say that, but I knew you were going to say it, so that's why I wanted to shout out something different.
No, that's fine. I mean, I've never liked the look of a title more than the big gold belt. Ever. It's always been my favorite, always was my go-to. Whoever had that title for me was always the champion in my eyes.
So I'll follow that up. What did you think of the WWE version of that belt? Do you think
Loved
there
it.
was? Do you?
The only time I didn't like it is when they made the inside of the strap red.
Okay.
So at that point I was like done with it. But up to that
they
point,
made it like
was
smaller
my favorite title.
too.
Yeah. At first, it was about the same size.
Yeah.
They didn't start making it smaller till much later.
Yeah.
But once they went with the red strap and made it a little bit smaller, I hated it because I feel like they deliberately tried to ruin it,
Bastardize it.
Yeah, but up to, from WCW all the way through to changing it to that, it's my favorite for sure.
Okay. We got a question from Everything Pro Wrestling.
EP Dub.
What is one wrestling promotion you wish you had more time for?
I wish I had more time to finish watching Lucha Underground.
That's true. I wish Lucha Underground was still a thing.
I wish Lucha Underground was still a thing and it didn't end the way that it did.
Yeah, left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, but I loved Lucha Underground for what it was and what they were doing in their presentation. And it's currently free on the Tubi app. And I'm in the midst of watching season 3, but I just haven't gotten to finishing it. So, love Lucha Underground. Wish I had more time for Lucha Underground.
Honestly, I wish I had more time to watch Beyond Wrestling. I know they do Uncharted Territory on Wednesday. Is it? No, it's Thursdays, right? Yeah.
It's either that or Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Thursdays on independentwrestling.tv. Yeah, I know some guys that work there. I've been a big fan of Beyond Wrestling since before it was a thing. I was at their first show ever. And yeah, I wish I had more time to keep up with that because those guys are killing it. They're busting their asses and they're probably putting on some of the best wrestling every single week. That's across the board. So I wish I had more time to dedicate to that.
All right. Somebody who snuck a question in right as we were about to record is Noob & Co. And they asked, what are your thoughts on the Kabuki Warriors?
I adore the Kabuki Warriors, especially more so that they're heel now.
Yes.
Was a big fan of Asuka during her entire NXT run, during her entire WWE run. She kind of got a little stale there towards the end before pairing her up.
It's almost what they wanted, though.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, but
they were like deliberately making her not fun.
But I think that they've done a very good job of building her back up to be like a very important pillar in the women's division. And
yeah.
Kairi Sane is super talented, and I never really cared about her because I didn't like her original character. The Pirate Princess. Wasn't a big fan.
Yep.
Loved the way she moved in the ring and love her elbow drop, but I wasn't sold on the character. Now, however, big fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I 100% agree with everything you just said. I mean, I don't know that there was another podcast out there at the time that was banging the table more for Asuka than we were before she came to the main roster.
That's true.
And then when she did, we were all in. I think we tweeted every Monday while we were watching live, hashtag Asuka Marks.
That's true.
So we were huge on Asuka and still am. And like you said, didn't like Kairi's character. For me, she just seemed like she was cosplaying more than actually being a pirate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, now they're heel, they're green misting people. Like, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Huge for Kabuki Warriors. And I think they recently just stopped splitting their entrance theme, didn't they?
Yeah, they got an actual tag team entrance theme.
One like now they're over for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're heels. The entrance theme isn't that stupid thing that WWE thinks is awesome, where they split songs back and forth, because nobody likes that. Nobody, literally nobody.
Moving on to a question from Damien over at DBW Podcast. He asked, will Christian ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
To that I say he fucking better.
Absolutely. I think Christian's one of the most talented overall superstars that WWE has ever had.
Severely underrated.
Yeah. I mean, like,
massively underrated.
When he originally left and went to TNA and became like huge there, I loved it because I was like, finally, he's getting recognized for the talent and the work rate and everything. And then he went back to WWE, and they gave him the ECW title, so that was cool. But like, finally, eventually, he won the World Heavyweight title and had that great series of matches with Randy Orton over it. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Definitely deserving of a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I think when we were doing research for the Edge Legacy Spotlight Series episode that we did, seeing matches with Christian where they, versus Edge or with Edge as a tag partner, Christian's really underrated in that he took, especially in those TLC matches, many of the hard, nasty bumps to make everybody else look awesome.
Yeah, he did it so well.
So many of them.
So well.
So, like, definitely Christian deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But speaking of the Hall of Fame, our buddy Keith the Chief asked us, who are your 2020 Hall of Fame inductees?
Ooh. So we already know of Batista and the NWO going into the Hall of Fame this year. So Robert and I kind of picked out our own lists here, and I'm very excited to hear who he added because he doesn't know who I added and vice versa. So I guess I'll start. So I have Christian, obviously.
I also have Christian.
I also have Kane.
I also have Kane.
Because I think Kane is a shoo-in for Hall of Fame, and he could even be like Mark Henry, where he doesn't necessarily need to retire before going in. I think he's more than deserving enough to go into it now and then have a retirement match later down the road.
There was a stretch, I'd say maybe from like 2000 to, I don't know, 2006, maybe. I don't know why that year sticks out in my head. Where Kane was like one of my favorite, if not my favorite person in WWE.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, especially in that stretch, obviously The Rock for me was number one, but Kane was probably number two. I loved, obviously, his look. The mask was cool. His different attires were cool when he started like changing them up a little bit. When they unmasked him, I even liked it. I loved his tag team work with X-Pac and RVD. I especially liked him and X-Pac together. They were like my favorite.
Well, you're a huge X-Pac mark.
I am a huge X-Pac mark. But then they put him with Kane, and it was like two great tastes that taste great together for me. And then, once he took off the mask and he was bald and he was like spooky and stuff. Conversely, however, there was a grinding halt to my love for Kane when he came back with that ugly, stupid mask that he wears now. And just his general way that he works overall now. Hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know where the switch turned, but in that time, like when he debuted with that new mask, and he was like corporate Kane and all this other horrible, and to me almost tarnished his legacy of what he did previously. That's how bad it was, and I hated it.
I agree with that statement. I know he personally is like a huge fan of that gimmick and the corporate Kane character and everything, but I definitely did not like it, and I
Right.
feel like it could have potentially ruined his
Mystique.
yeah, yeah.
He used to not talk, and now he wears a business suit. You know what I mean? Like, I get that he's one person in real life, but why did the characters have to why did that have to overlap with his real life? I don't understand. Who else you got?
So I got Bam Bam Bigelow.
Nice, very nice. Okay.
I feel like that's overdue and a long time coming.
I don't have Bam Bam, but I would not disagree. Yeah, so I have William Regal.
Nice, good pull.
I think very deserving. I remember watching him in WCW as Steven Regal. Always a great match you could get out of him with anybody, you know. I loved the Regal stretch. I loved the power of the punch gimmick. Loved when he was like the GM of Raw or whatever. Like, I loved all of that.
I also have Finley.
Nice
I feel like his contributions in the backstage role that he has currently far outweigh anything he's ever done in the ring. And that's not a knock at him. I'm just saying he's done so much.
He's done so much for women's wrestling specifically.
Yeah. So I definitely think he deserves to be in there.
He's another guy that I remember from WCW in like the hardcore matches and all that. Like he's a bruiser. He's a real meat and potatoes kind of wrestler.
Mm-hmm. I've only seen him in the WWE from when he came in. Good in the ring, but also for his contributions outside of the ring.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Somebody I have down is Big Show.
Good pull.
Longevity.
I mean, we know Big Show has had an incredible career, and there is definitely no one like him in this business. I know he got compared to Andre the Giant a lot, but I think his contributions to the wrestling business in general give him his own seat at the table, so to speak.
Definitely. And like multiple championships, multiple tag team championships, dependable for any angle. They need a heel, they need a face. That's why he turned so many times, because they knew that they could trust him to help get people over in one way or the other.
Yeah.
You know, but insurmountable amount of matches and characters that he was, or when he was doing the celebrity stuff at WrestleMania every year, like awesome, you know, just like a great all around guy.
Since they usually do at least one woman, I'm gonna go with Victoria.
Nice. Well, you love Victoria.
I do. I
You're
absolutely
a huge mark for Victoria.
love her, and I wish she got to be welcomed back into the WWE before she hung it up in the ring. Every year at the Royal Rumble, I'm always like, Victoria's coming back, man. This is going to be the night. She's coming back. And unfortunately, the stars never align. So maybe one day, I'm going to say never, maybe she'll return and show up and take on Rhea Ripley or something.
Dude, that would be awesome.
Because that's a match I would pay money to see.
So you're going women. So I'll go with my women's pick, Nikki and Brie Bella, the Bella twins.
Absolutely 100% deserving of that spot, I think.
I think so for a lot of reasons that aren't necessarily all in the ring.
Absolutely, and we have to take that stuff into consideration as well.
So think about it this way: like, yeah, in the ring they had multiple women's championships, and stuff like that. But outside of the ring, the way that they helped get the women over in a different way, for me to like come home from work or just be sitting on the couch and my wife be like, I want to watch Total Divas. Did you hear this? Like, and just be totally into like the reality TV show aspect of how they contribute, because it's a huge contribution to getting over in a different way.
Yeah, and there's like crossover market.
All the girls that are on that show now, are definitely hugely over, and then it's a huge honor for the girls to be on that show.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge thing to be trusted to be part of the E thing, and then like Miz got a spin-off with his wife. Like it's huge. It's huge in that way.
It's good all around.
It's opening the universe up to different people in different lanes. And I don't know if they spearheaded the idea or what the case was, or if they were watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians and thought we should do that. We have interesting lives, but it's a massive contribution to not just WWE but wrestling in general, because it put a bigger spotlight on the women's wrestlers.
Every year they usually do a tag team. Obviously the NWO is like the team or whatever, but they usually do like a straight up tag team. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. It's been a while since I mentioned them on the show. The Mean Street Posse.
God damn it. I knew you were going to say it.
There was like, for those of you that don't know, there was like a 5 or 6 episode streak that I'd somehow work the Mean Street Posse into the conversation.
God damn it.
Every time. It was like, before it's too late, got to get the Mean Street Posse in there. I was like pitching ideas for Shane to turn heel and bring back the Mean Street Posse. And it's just Pete Gas just blading and bleeding everywhere.
Oh my God.
So Pete Gas is going to come up onto the stage and he's going to be bloody.
Yeah. And somebody's going to hit him with a stop sign.
So, here's my pitch. Mean Street Posse, Hall of Fame 2020, make it happen. Hashtag Mean Street Posse for the Hall of Fame 2020, brother.
It's the longest hashtag on the planet. All right. So I'm going to save my big one for the very end, but I'm going to hit you with 2 quick ones. Hardcore Holly.
Interesting pull.
Also one of my favorite dudes to watch during that time frame.
Dude, I remember watching him as friggin' Sparkplug Holly.
Yep.
Sparky Plug, man.
And Tommy Dreamer.
Okay. Yes. Let's make it happen. So I'll hit you with 2 quick ones here. Rob Van Dam.
Nice.
Even though he's wrestling for Impact now, but it's fine. And Tajiri.
Nice.
I feel like
you'll always get a pop for me for Tajiri, so I have one big one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Bigger than the rest of the names that have been announced.
Okay.
The Rock.
Okay.
He's not in yet. Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense, but I wouldn't say his career's over. And I think he wants to pull a Batista and wrestle and then take his seat. Because that seat's waiting for him. Right.
No, of course. But, The Rock, dude.
Yeah.
If you're talking about who needs to go into the Hall of Fame, it's normally Christian and The Rock. The fact that he's not in yet is weird.
Like I said, he's not. I don't think he's hung it up yet. So I don't think it's weird. Yeah, if he had retired the same time that Austin did, then yeah, it'd be weird. But
I think it's overdue. I think he needs to go in. So Keith asked us that question, and he also asked us a second question. What are your pet peeves about pro wrestling? What are your pet peeves about pro wrestling? A lot of pops. A lot of pop filter pops.
I think as far as pet peeves go, it's like little shit. It's like don't treat the audience like they're stupid. Because they're not, and they'll certainly tell you about it on Twitter. Wrestling Twitter is also one of my pet peeves about pro wrestling. It's like the toxic fandom.
Yeah, it's not fun for sure.
No.
I would say one of my biggest pet peeves is watching a match and watching somebody wait for the other person to do a spot.
Okay.
I hate that. I hate when somebody's like climbing to the top rope and the person that's about to receive the move is standing in the middle of the ring facing the opposite direction, but they're looking over their shoulder and you could see them. Like, I hate that. Or just like throw somebody into the ropes and then stand there waiting in position to do your maneuver. Like, I hate watching them wait for spots. And also the fact that nobody registers damage anymore.
Yeah. All fair points. And then kind of going along that line for me, when a wrestler's like down or something and they're supposed to be selling, but instead they're just like fixing their knee pad or they're like fixing their trunks.
Right.
Like,
They're always adjusting.
Clearly your knee pad or your boot or whatever is like messed up, but you don't need to sit there and like adjust it while you're laying on camera and stuff. Wait until you get back up, dude.
Right. Like, oh man, that move really put me out, but also my pants are on sideways.
Yeah.
And that's more important than the pain that I'm in.
Or like if someone gets knocked down and they're out of position for like the top rope dive move, they've got to like shimmy to get into position.
Mm-hmm. And you just watch them do it.
It's just,
yeah.
There's other ways around that.
Yeah.
And I think like there's certain guys that know not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's certain guys that are still green and don't.
You will as much shit as you could heap on Randy Orton, you will never see him move into position. You'll just know that he was out of position and then he was into position.
Yeah. He'll sell into position.
Because
he knows where he needs to be.
Friend of the podcast, all around great dude, and soon to be dad, Omega Luke, asked us, what is both of your best and worst experiences from creating content so far? So not a wrestling question, but a podcast related question.
Well, since Luke's a soon to be dad, why don't you answer the question, since you are also going to be a soon to be dad?
Oh shit, that's right.
Congratulations. We didn't talk about it on the podcast.
No, we haven't talked about it. My wife and I are expecting. Don't know what it is yet. Don't know if it's a boy or a girl. But this June,
That's
having
exciting.
a baby. It is exciting. Business is about to pick up.
Baby Yezi.
Yeah. Best and worst experiences from creating content so far. Okay, so it's one and the same. How about that? The best and worst thing about creating content is going, oh my God, I have this great idea for a thing, and executing the thing, and then finding out that somebody already does it way better than you. That's the best and the worst thing about creating content, in my opinion, is going, dude, we have something, and then realizing you have something, but it's really something that somebody else has already done, and they'd probably do it better than you.
As far as like worst experience from creating content, and I kind of have to agree with you in the sense that like, oh, we get an idea, but that's just the idea phase. When it comes to actually like creating it, whether it's a video or a tweet even, or just the podcast, like the worst experiences are when you are trying to make this thing and you literally have to will it into existence and it didn't exist before, and then you have to like put it out there and hope people like it. So like worst experiences for me, it's like, oh, I just posted this podcast. Is anyone going to listen to it? Are people going to like listen to 3 seconds and they're going to be like, this dude's voice is stupid? these guys' opinions are stupid. Like, we're not going to listen to this anymore. But as far as the best experiences from it, I guess it's like a double-edged sword because you put yourself out there, and then when you get positive feedback, it's so rewarding, and it makes the work worth it to me.
Yeah, the coolest thing is organically having people say that they like your stuff.
Yeah,
that you don't know them in person. They're not listening because they know you, like they're listening like because they just found it somehow. They saw it retweeted somewhere. They clicked the button, and then they tell you that they're into what you're talking about. Like, that's probably the coolest thing about it.
Yeah, and then like building a relationship from that point with those people. Like I love interacting with like our friends on wrestling Twitter. And I can confidently say that like we're friends. Like we talk all the time.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
So I don't know. I think creating the relationships is probably the best, and like having people agree and admire the work that you put into something. And
or just
like,
notice it.
Yeah, just tell me it sucks, but like at the
Right.
same time give me constructive feedback.
Right. Our friends over at Wrestling Realm, Brian and Dwayne, asked, who is your early dark horse to win the Royal Rumble?
I think it'd be really interesting to see Andrade win the Royal Rumble.
Okay, that definitely qualifies as a dark horse.
Yeah.
Because it sucks because for me, like I'm not thinking of a dark horse. I'm thinking of like who logistically I'd like to see win the Royal Rumble, and I think especially with the year he's had, for me the answer is Kevin Owens.
Okay.
So not necessarily a dark horse, but
no.
like I would very much enjoy a Kevin Owens Royal Rumble win.
I think it'd be also really interesting for an even more dark horse to be Ali.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That'd be huge.
That'd be some cool build.
But you said cool build, and Too Sweet Wrestling asked, what is the current wrestling storyline that we enjoy the most?
There's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad.
Mm-hmm. So you're not going to say Rusev Bobby Lashley?
If by enjoy you mean like watching a train wreck happen, then yes.
Okay.
But no, I'm going to have to go with Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy build right now.
Okay.
Where they're just calling each other out and then they're beating the shit out of other people before they can get to each other. So it's just like a fun, simple storyline. It's not convoluted right now, which it probably will eventually be. Exactly. But like it's simple, and it's with two guys that I believe in and that I like. So what about you?
For me right now, it's Seth Rollins turning on the fans.
Okay.
I love the idea of Seth Rollins turning on the fans. Everybody seems to agree that if he were to turn heel, they'd cheer for him again, which doesn't make any sense from a narrative standpoint. But I think it's long overdue for him to go back to the dark side, and the slow burn for it so far has been awesome.
Yeah.
And him lashing out this past Monday was great.
Yeah, he even had like a backstage segment like a couple weeks ago where he basically said like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So
yep.
What's the difference? So I really like where that's going. And I like that he's with AOP right now.
Yeah, Seth can do anything, so.
But Too Sweet Wrestling also asked, what match should main event this upcoming WrestleMania?
It's so far off, and so much can change. Like at this point last year, we definitely didn't know what was going to main event, and it definitely changed.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure, but let's just say hypothetically I go with Kevin Owens winning the Royal Rumble, like I said earlier. So Owens taking the title from Lesnar would be awesome. Owens taking the title from The Fiend would be awesome, although I don't know if they allow guns into the stadium. So I'm not sure exactly. But also, Miz and The Fiend are kind of involved now, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble and we finally get Miz versus Daniel Bryan, which I always wanted to main event WrestleMania.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
A lot of pieces have to fall into place for that one, but
I mean,
I'll go with Kevin Owens versus either current champion.
Okay. Well, obviously the Royal Rumble winner should main event WrestleMania, but I don't necessarily think that's happened in the last few years aside from Becky Lynch. I think if somehow, some way we get an NXT star winning the Royal Rumble and going on to main event, I would like to see an NXT title match main event WrestleMania.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it'll happen either, but if you want that brand to be taken seriously and stuff, give them the main event. Yeah, watch what they can do. Think about that kind of match on that scale.
Yeah.
It's everything I want, you know? But it would have to make sense in the build.
Right.
So I'm kind of hoping for like Johnny Gargano to win the Royal Rumble and go on and wrestle maybe Finn Balor for the NXT Championship.
Oof, that'd be awesome as the main event of WrestleMania. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Josh and Stu, good friends of the podcast, shout out to those guys. Which matches do you think are the most underrated and overrated of 2019?
Oh my God.
There's so many to choose from. I think most underrated for me, personally, would probably be AJ Styles versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 35.
Okay.
Because I feel like...
We were in person for that.
Yeah. And I feel like that match kind of doesn't really get the recognition that it deserves. I think that was a really well put together match.
Yeah, in that spot on the card, I think is why it got killed.
Yeah, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It
No,
works.
yeah, I remember, the very first thing I did when I got home after WrestleMania weekend was watch WrestleMania again. And yeah, I remember being like, yeah, this is pretty good. So that's a good pull.
And as far as overrated, I don't necessarily think there's an overrated match that's like coming to mind. Maybe like the women's WrestleMania main event from WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's also a good one.
I think that's pretty overrated. Honestly, it's not that good.
I don't think that match was that good.
The finish ruined that match.
Yeah, and like the stipulation wasn't necessary.
No.
You know.
It
was overlong.
I was gonna say it also didn't help that the match went on at midnight, and I was so tired by the time it went on. But still, I watched that match back, and I was like, you know what? It really wasn't that great. Really wasn't that great.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that for sure. Speaking of overrated, so we participate in Josh and Stu, who asked the previous question. They run a prediction league on Twitter for wrestling podcasts and the like. And they have a title, and you send your picks in. They give you points per what you selected happening on the show, and it goes like that. We were the title holders for a incredible amount of time, like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the guys that took that title from us just because wrestling asked, how did it feel when we took the JSPL title from you, the Josh and Stu Prediction League title from you? And I can say honestly, my answer is it was a relief. Right?
Yeah.
It was a relief.
I mean,
to not have to worry about defending the title all the time.
I was mad because I think they won it on a technicality, if I remember correctly.
Honestly, I don't remember.
It's because we beat ourselves. Remember?
Oh,
we
that's
used
right.
The
We used
tiebreaker to try and get an extra 10 points, but we got it wrong, so we lost 10 points. So really, they didn't beat us.
We cost ourselves.
We cost
the title.
ourselves the match.
That's right. I remember that now.
But it's fine.
I remember saying that in a promo.
But I was mad initially, but like you said, I was kind of at the same time like, oh, okay, we don't have to like record a promo for this.
Yeah.
Until we did, and we won it back, but it's fine. That's another story. All right, fun question from our friends at Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Big fan of these guys and their podcasts. They're always fun to interact with on Twitter. Their question was, what are the 5 best wrestler comic book correlations you can think of? Like Superman is the 1980s version of Hulk Hogan, which I think this is a very fun question.
It is, but it required so much thought.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll run through mine first because I think they're pretty quick. First one I thought of right off the top of my head was Crow Sting from WCW is Batman.
Okay.
Fighting against an established order, the vigilante kind of deal, all that stuff. This one's a little bit more left field. Stone Cold Steve Austin is Wolverine.
Oh, shit. I like that.
No friends, don't trust anybody. That kind of thing. Like, take no prisoners, kick everybody's ass, never give up, never stop. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Edge, the rated R superstar, I have as Loki.
Okay. Damn.
The opportunism, trickster, that kind of stuff. And then I got Ricochet as Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Okay.
Cool. Quick, a little bit different than the like normal original Spider-Man, but still a lot of fun and does a lot of really cool stuff. And then Mark Henry is Power Man Luke Cage.
I like it. I like the list a lot. Yeah, this took me a little while to try to figure out, but I got Aleister Black as Daredevil.
Okay.
Just the mystique, everything about
Moral
him,
code.
The way that he carries himself, definitely just reminds me of like Daredevil.
Moral code. There's like a general religion vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
This one's kind of left field, but 90s Shawn Michaels as Tony Stark.
I was trying to think of somebody for Iron Man and I couldn't, but I like that one.
Yeah. And then just like the whole finding God thing and becoming a better version of yourself over time. I think that fits. I also have Johnny Gargano as Peter Parker because I think he's like the be all end all of good guy. So I
ultimate underdog all the time.
Exactly.
Always overpowered.
Great power comes great responsibility, and I feel like Johnny Gargano has that. And then that time when he went heel was obviously when he had the symbiote, as per his gear. I have CM Punk as Punisher, Frank Castle.
Nice.
I think that's a good fit. He stands for what he believes in and doesn't necessarily walk the line of good guy, bad guy. He's just like very worried about himself and the people that he cares about. Just that kind of brash attitude, doesn't care what he says. And then I've got to go with Finn Balor as Batman.
All right.
I just think when Finn taps into that place, that demon, he lets his true self out, like almost like Finn Balor's the Bruce Wayne to the demon's Batman. Like the real
I got
him
it.
is behind the
Right.
mask with the paint on and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So
I like that. I like that list a lot. But I have one on the outside that I've mentioned on Twitter before, and I think I've mentioned it on the podcast. Keith Lee and Matt Riddle as Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
that's true.
The heroes for hire. It just visually, it's perfect. Anyway,
Yeah, they'd be a great team together, and especially if their name was Heroes for Hire. All right, let's move over to Ocho Duro Parlay Hour at OD Parlay Hour on Twitter. Best wrestling movie of all time. Go.
oh well, there's so many. I'm just having a hard time. Like obviously, wrestling docs don't count, right?
No.
The Wrestler.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I think it's the best look into that world that we've ever gotten on film before. Personally, from what I've seen, I'll put it that way.
There's just so many wrestling films. I just don't have the time, you know.
Well, we got time for more wrestling film questions. Undisputed Future, our good pal, asked, "What does Royally Rumbled think of the film Ready to Rumble?"
Gonna be honest. Gonna lose a lot of street cred here. I've never viewed that film.
I have not seen that film either.
Just never seen it. I remember when it came out, I was young, and that was around the time I stopped watching WCW altogether. So,
Yeah.
it didn't necessarily make me want to see the movie, you know?
If someone were to show up at my house and hand me a Blu-ray copy of the film, I would eventually take the cellophane off and put it in my Xbox and watch it. However, if someone were to hand me a DVD copy of the film, I would not accept it. And I would go on with my life not having missed out on anything.
Maybe we have to watch Ready to Rumble.
Dude, should we do a audio commentary track while we watch it?
I don't know. Let them tell us. If you're still listening to this and you want us to do an audio commentary track on the film Ready to Rumble that we've never seen before,
Like a
to get our
live...
raw reactions to it, let us know, and we might just do it. But Undisputed Future also asked, in reply to the GIF that we posted with our question, what kind of bear is best? Question: what kind of bear is best?
My real answer, polar bear.
False. Black bear.
I'm so glad we did an office gag on this.
How did you not know that was coming? How did you not know that was coming?
Well, I kind of was hoping, but... So I'm from Scranton, so like having a show like the US version of The Office take place literally like 5 minutes away from where I live is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I love The Office. So I was super excited that he actually said that because I was like, no, we're answering it. All right. Moving on to another friend of the podcast. Queen of NE asked, what's your go-to podcast for wrestling news? Jordan.
I mean, honestly, I don't listen to podcasts for wrestling news.
I don't know that there's a podcast that I go to for wrestling news because wrestling news happens so fast. You know, by the time that there's a podcast out about wrestling news, if it wasn't recorded live, it's already old, you know? But I'm open to suggestions. If there's one that people are dying for people to listen to, I'll listen to it.
Let's jump over to Instagram. At The Only Writer in Town asked, what's your favorite rock band / favorite song genre?
I'm a metal guy, and my favorite band is Mastodon. Actually, I think my top 3 or 4 bands all start with M or have a hard M in them. Mastodon, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, and Motorhead. So,
All good pulls. My music selection is way more broad because I listen to a bunch of stuff. So I think my favorite is a guy named Matt Nathanson. I think that's a safe bet to assume. He's like a singer-songwriter. Yeah, just all of his music is great. But I also like things like Silver Sun Pickups. I like, some heavier stuff. I like Slipknot. It's just, I'm all over the place when it comes to music.
and then on Instagram, we had WWE Real Sultan ask us, what are your thoughts on a possible Edge return?
As long as he's actually medically cleared to compete, I'm all for it. If he's if there's like a chance that he shouldn't take a bump, then don't take a bump. Like,
Right.
I love Edge, and if you go back and listen to our Legacy Spotlight series episode on him and his career, huge fans.
Yeah.
We even fantasy booked a couple matches in there of who would we put him against now. And I know we said like AJ Styles and Seth Rollins and stuff. So it's like the thought of Edge returning for at least one more match interests me a lot, but only if he can physically handle it.
Right. If he's 100% healthy, I'm all for it. But if he's not 100% healthy, I don't want to see it happen.
Right now, Brother Love Wrestling asked, who would be your current wrestlers Mount Rushmore?
Oh, Jesus. Current wrestlers?
Current wrestlers.
Oh.
It's just pick your favorite current wrestlers. Jeff Hardy, Seth Rollins, Charlotte Flair, and finally, I think I've got to go with Finn Balor.
Okay. That's good. I like that.
What about you?
Oh boy. Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins, Triple H, Kevin Owens.
Okay. Cool.
So this brings us to our final questioner, Mags, motivated and confident. If wrestling disappeared, what would you replace it with?
Honestly, probably video games, or I just fill it with stuff that I already enjoy, like video games.
But just make more time for it?
Yeah, make more time for it. Video games, television, movies, making movies, writing movies, stuff like that.
If wrestling disappeared, I don't know, like, would I watch boxing instead to get like that fight feel?
Who watches boxing?
Dude, I've watched boxing.
Is that your answer?
I know, I'm just saying, like, would I fill it with something that's also like a combat situation?
It's up to you. That's the question.
That's possible. It's possible that I would do that, or would, like you said, just use the time that I would allot to wrestling to other things like video games or sleeping or more time with. The thing is that I'm a nerd about a lot of stuff. It's not just wrestling.
Yeah, same.
I have like a lot of like specific nerd avenues, comic books, video games, movies, TV, all that kind of stuff, music, even sports. I'm like a nerd about sports. So I would probably just fill it with that with the time with that stuff instead.
So Mag's follow-up question is a doozy, and this is where we're ending our episode. Would you rather eat shit-flavored ice cream or ice cream-flavored shit?
Do you have an answer?
I've got to be honest. I would rather eat shit-flavored ice cream because then it's still a food.
That was my answer. 100%. That's my answer.
Like,
Now, like, so the idea of your shit being flavored like ice cream, it's still waste that you're eating, regardless of the taste of it. Whereas shit flavored ice cream is still a food.
yeah. There might be some nutritional value in that.
The taste would be awful. However, it's not ingesting waste. And I think that was like my biggest thing.
Literal shit.
Like I might be able to get through the flavor of shit knowing it's ice cream. But if I'm eating a pile of shit
It just tastes
that
like
just
it.
happens to taste like ice cream, I don't know that would go over so well. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, thank you guys so much for these questions. I want to do like more of these. So we'll set something up and we'll do this again.
Yeah, definitely. And if you like episodes that aren't necessarily about wrestling, you can check out our other podcast that we do called Pop Cannon with a K. It's what your mom texts you when she's angry. We do reviews of movies and TV shows over there. So if you're looking for additional content and you happen to like us, check out our other show at Pop Cannon with a K.
So this has been our Q&A. Stay tuned for more big things coming in 2020 for your boys at Royally Rumbled. I'm Jordan.
I am Robert.
Thanks for listening.
Have fun, everybody. Enjoy the holiday season, whichever holiday it is that you celebrate. Be it Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I don't know if there's any other ones that I'm leaving out, but if you celebrate those, enjoy those and happy those as well.
Just be happy, everyone.
Yeah, don't be like us and miserable.